Welcome to It Begins in Quincy. We're taking national issues that play out on the local level and we're bringing them to light. We're using Quincy, Massachusetts as the case study so that you can spot these things happening in your own hometown. Because you have to remember, it begins in Quincy, but it doesn't end there. Well, imagine finding out the laws governing your hometown weren't written by, your elected officials, but by some anonymous, privately funded shadow lawyer just operating in the dark.
Right, which sounds totally crazy.
It does.
Yeah.
But today, we actually have the leaked emails proving exactly how that happens. I mean, we are talking about internal emails, verbatim meeting transcripts, formal open meeting law complaints, and public records request forms.
All originating from Quincy, Massachusetts.
Right. And we are going to use these documents to understand what happens when elected officials, city attorneys, and highly active citizens basically collide over one fundamental question.
Which is what truly belongs in the public eye and what gets to be kept private.
Yes. And taking that a step further, to really grasp the stakes of this collision, we need to understand the foundational rulebook they are all supposedly playing by.
Supposedly being the key word there. So in Massachusetts and various forms across the country, this is known as the Open Meeting Law, or the OML.
Right.
And the historical context here is crucial for you to understand. The OML wasn't just invented out of thin air to annoy local politicians, but it was actually born out of a very real public distrust.
At its heart, the open meeting law guarantees that you, the public, have a fundamental right to witness the formulation of public policy, not just the end result. You have the right to see the messy, deliberative process that leads up to that final vote. It's designed to prevent those shadow governments and backroom deals.
But consider the flip side of that visibility, right? It places an immense procedural burden on local officials.
Because everything is tracked.
Right. Every email, every text, every casual conversation between a quorum of members about public business can suddenly become a massive legal liability.
And in the sources we're examining today, we have a very specific cast of characters trying and often completely failing to navigate this high wire act.
Yeah, let's run through who we're talking about here.
So we have the city solicitor, James Timmons, who is the chief legal counsel for the municipality. We have city councilors Maggie McKee, Deborah Riley, and Ann Mahoney, who serves as the council president.
And critically, we have highly engaged citizens, particularly a woman named Leah DeGloria, who are, actively using these transparency laws to hold the council accountable.
The real decisions, the actual leverage, and the raw deal-making are happening on a shadow ledger, in private email threads and undisclosed consultations.
And in Quincy, that shadow ledger is about to be dragged kicking and screaming into the light.
Because what we were about to look at is a moment where an elected official actively admitted to keeping two sets of books, so to speak.
And she did it on the public record.
Yes. Let's set the scene for you. It is May 18th, 2026. The Quincy City Council's Ordinance Committee is meeting.
Just a standard municipal meeting.
Just closed an open forum, and Councilor Maggie McKee takes the microphone to address some things that were said earlier in the meeting.
And this is where she just drops an absolute bombshell on the room.
She says, quote, "One of the things that I have done with the salary that I'm taking after giving away the raise is to pay for a lawyer myself. Because I have asked Solicitor Timmons questions in the past that I felt the answers were not." And she just trails off a bit there.
Wow.
Right. But the core admission is undeniable. She explicitly states she gave away her municipal raise and is using her base city salary to hire a private lawyer.
Because she fundamentally does not trust the legal guidance of the city solicitor.
Yes. You have to imagine the temperature in that room dropping below freezing because City Solicitor James Timmons is sitting right there.
Literally in the same room. He is the very lawyer she is publicly declaring her distrust for.
And he immediately issues a sharp, on-the-record pushback. He does not miss a beat.
What does he say?
He leans into his microphone and says, quote, "First of all, if you're consulting with someone outside the body and you don't identify who that is, you don't provide what their input is, that's a violation of the open meeting law because you are accepting information that's..."
Yeah.
And then he gets cut off.
But his point is crystal clear. He is warning her in real time that bringing anonymous legal input into the body's legislative process is just flat out illegal.
Exactly. But why is it illegal? To understand the mechanics of why Timmons is so alarmed, we need to look at the exact text of the 2025 Open Meeting Law Guide provided by the Attorney General's Division of Open Government.
Right. And it's important to note that the Division of Open Government isn't just an advisory board. They are the enforcement arm.
They have real teeth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They can issue fines, they can nullify votes, and mandate training. And their definition of the word deliberation is incredibly broad.
Yeah, according to the guide, deliberation is, quote, an oral or written communication through any medium, including electronic mail, between or among a quorum of a public body on any public business within its jurisdiction.
Yes, and here's the crucial part that applies to Counselor McKee's shadow lawyer. The guy explicitly notes, quote, the expression of an opinion on matters within the body's jurisdiction to a quorum of a public body is a deliberation, even if no other public body member responds.
Wait, so even if it's just one-way communication?
Yes. So if an outside, unidentified attorney is drafting legal memos or providing opinions on legislative strategy, and in this case they were discussing repealing ordinances, and the counselor is introducing those shaped ideas to the quorum.
They are effectively inserting an anonymous back channel directly into the deliberation process.
Exactly. Because you, as a member of the public, can't scrutinize the lawyer. You can't FOIA their private memos.
Right. You don't know if this lawyer represents real estate developers or a political action committee or even a rival politician.
You have literally no idea whose legal theory is actually driving the laws being written for your city.
That is so dangerous. It completely insulates the deliberation from public scrutiny.
And an attorney doesn't just say, oh, this is legal or this is illegal. They provide risk assessments. They write the actual language of the ordinances. They shape policy under the guise of legal advice.
So if a shadow lawyer is pulling those strings, the public meeting is no longer a forum for debate. It basically becomes a rehearsed performance of a script written in secret.
That's exactly what it becomes. Which brings us to the morning after, May 19th.
The fallout.
Oh, yeah. The tension from the televised meeting spills straight into the city's email servers.
We have the complete, unedited email chain between the counselor and the solicitor. And I'm going to read these emails in full because the progression of the power dynamic here is just staggering.
It's intense. Set it up.
It starts the next morning at 9:33 a.m. from James Timmons, sent to Maggie McKee. Subject is last night's disclosure.
Okay, very formal.
Yes. He writes, "Good morning, counselor. Please provide me with the name of the attorney with whom you have consulted and upon whom you are relying in relation to the counsel orders now pending in the Ordinance Committee."
Right to the point.
Very. He continues, "I want to speak directly with her to better understand the advice provided to you on repeal and to learn how long this consultation has been going on."
Look at the precision of his language there. He isn't asking for an apology. He is demanding the name. And more importantly, he asks how long this consultation has been going on.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out the scope of the problem.
Exactly. As the city's chief legal officer, he is trying to conduct a rapid risk assessment. He needs to know the total exposure, like how many past votes, how many past decisions might be tainted by this undisclosed influence.
He is in full damage control mode, but Counselor McKee is not backing down. She fires back.
What does she say?
From Maggie McKee to James Timmons. "Dear Solicitor Timmons, could you please clarify how my consulting with a personal attorney is an open meeting law violation?"
Oh, she's challenging his legal interpretation.
And it gets better. She says, "The mayor's chief of staff told me that I should consult at my own cost a personal attorney when I asked about the council being able to hire an attorney for the body. So I did that." Yeah, and she ends it with, "Best wishes, Maggie," and then includes her whole signature block with her pronouns.
Okay, this introduces a massive structural complication. She claims the mayor's chief of staff advised her to do this.
Right. She believes she was given explicit permission by the executive branch to seek outside counsel because the city wouldn't provide a dedicated lawyer just for the council.
But Timmons is the one who understands the legal mechanism of the violation. He replies, trying to separate her right to private counsel from her public legislative actions.
Right, let me read his response. He says, "Would you please send along the name? I want to get this addressed as promptly as possible."
He's getting impatient.
Definitely. Then he writes, "B, you stated last night that you consulted an attorney outside of the purview of a public meeting who advised you, and you stated that you relied on that advice in reaching your conclusions about repeal."
He's pinning her to her exact words.
Yep. He finishes with, "It was not discussed in the public forum beyond your statements. Just please give me the name so I can conduct my review."
He is desperately trying to explain the how and the why of the violation. Because It is not illegal for a politician to talk to a lawyer.
Right. Anyone can hire a lawyer.
Exactly. The violation is that she stated on the public record that she relied on that private advice to reach official conclusions about repealing city ordinances
Yeah.
without ever discussing the substance of that advice in the public forum.
Ah, I see. The private advice became public action without any public scrutiny.
Precisely. But she holds her ground entirely. What's her response?
She writes back, I'm sorry, Solicitor Timmons. I do not believe you have the legal right to require that I tell you the name of a lawyer I hired for my private funds. Maggie.
It is a totally defiant refusal. She views this strictly as a private transaction.
Her logic is, it is her money, therefore it is her lawyer, and therefore it is her privacy.
Which completely ignores the fact that the product of that transaction is shaping municipal law.
Yeah, and Timmons realizes he has hit a brick wall here.
How does he end it?
He writes, I certainly regret your decision as well. I will be raising this email chain when this matter is next before the body.
Boom.
Yeah, that's a threat. So we have to pause here and look at the reality of this situation.
The danger of a shadow lawyer is profound, regardless of who is paying the bill. If an elected official is formulating policy based on private, undisclosed legal memos, the public is entirely cut out of the democratic process.
The public business is being privatized.
That's the perfect way to phrase it.
But this paranoia about who the solicitor actually represents and why a counselor would feel forced to use her own money to hire a private lawyer.
It is a concept called the corporate city charter.
How does the corporate city charter work?
A municipality is legally considered a single corporate entity. The city of Quincy is one single corporation. Therefore, the city charter usually mandates that there is only one corporate counsel.
The city solicitor.
Right. This one lawyer is legally obligated to represent both the executive branch, which is the mayor and his administration, and the legislative branch, which is the city council.
We see this paranoia explode in early April 2026 over an open meeting law complaint filed by a citizen named Ann Walker.
And the administrative process of filing an OML complaint is supposed to be pretty straightforward, right?
Supposed to be, but here it becomes incredibly convoluted. Ann Walker apparently emailed her complaint directly to the Attorney General's office and copied some counselors, but maybe she used the wrong email addresses, and critically, she didn't use the official required form.
Which, as we know from the enforcement mechanisms we talked about earlier, is a major procedural hiccup.
Right.
The OML guide dictates that individuals who allege a violation must first file a written complaint with the public body itself using the official form. That gives the body 14 days to review and remedy the situation before the state ever gets involved.
So, because of this misstep, the council is confused. Council President Ann Mahoney sends an email saying she didn't receive the complaint directly, but she went ahead and put together a draft response anyway.
Which just muddies the waters even more.
Right. And this kicks off a chain of emails that is just an absolute masterclass in bureaucratic dysfunction and procedural gaslighting. I am going to read this entire chain from April 9th and 10th in full. It starts with Solicitor Timmons. He emails the counselors and says, "Good morning, counselors. Attached, please find a draft response to the communication received from Ann Walker."
Okay, he's just trying to handle the paperwork.
Yeah. He says, President Mahoney forwarded a communication she received which appears to allege a violation of the open meeting law. While this did not come through the official form, the president has indicated receipt of the complaint and drafted an initial response. I have attached my review of that response for your consideration. Please review and advise.
So Timmons is saying, look, she didn't use the form, but the president acknowledged it, so let's just deal with it.
Right, let's just resolve the issue. But then Counselor McKee chimes in. She writes, Solicitor Timmons, I do not believe the complainant has actually filed an open meeting law complaint yet. Has one been received through the official form?
She's focusing on the technicality.
Yes. She continues, I have not received one. Please advise, Maggie.
Notice what McKee is doing there. She is hitting the procedural brakes.
Hard.
She is pointing out a technical flaw. Her argument is, no official form means there is no official complaint. Therefore, the council shouldn't be acknowledging it or drafting any responses.
And Timmons responds 20 minutes later, and you can hear the frustration starting to bleed into his professional tone.
Oh, I bet. What does he say?
He writes, Counselor, just to be clear, my email was in response to President Mahoney's email, which indicates receipt of a complaint, albeit not directly.
He's trying to pass the buck back to the president.
Yes. He says, I inferred from the emails below you were somehow involved in this, so perhaps you can clarify for everyone what has occurred. I have no idea whether one has been received through the official form or otherwise. And then he really lays down the law. The president, as chair of the body, will determine what is received or not and whether receipt is proper. You should clarify this directly with her. The fact that she drafted a response and indicated receipt led me to believe the president was in receipt of the complaint.
This is Timmons attempting to force the council to adhere strictly to the established hierarchy. He is reminding them of the legal mechanics. As the chair of the body, only President Mahoney has the authority to determine if a complaint has been properly received.
So he's basically saying, figure it out amongst yourselves.
Exactly. Timmons is essentially throwing his hands up and saying, I am your corporate counsel, but I take my procedural cues from your CEO, the president. Stop asking me to mediate your internal confusion.
But Counselor McKee does not accept that answer. She writes back, and she goes completely on the offensive.
Uh-oh.
She writes, Solicitor Timmons, I included you on the emails that I sent out about this, so you should have seen the response from the AG's office stating that Ann Walker had not filled out the open meeting law complaint form.
Okay, so she's accusing him of not reading his emails.
Exactly. She says she merely sent out an email to counselors, ceasing the AG's office, alleging that we had violated the open meeting law. I was the only one who probably received the email, though, because she used the wrong addresses for the other counselors.
This is just so messy.
It is. McKee goes on, my involvement in this is that I then sent her emails and the AG's response to the full council, yourself, Chris Walker, and Jen Manning, so that we could all see what I received.
Right, she's laying out her timeline.
And then the hammer drops. She writes, I am disappointed that you did not closely read those emails before suggesting a solution that involves the council acknowledging a complaint that has not even been received. As you have pointed out repeatedly, you represent the council as well as the administration. I do not feel represented, Maggie.
I do not feel represented.
Wow.
Think about the weight of that statement.
It's massive. That is an incredibly heavy, damning accusation for a sitting city councilor to level at the city's highest-ranking attorney on an official public record.
It is the ultimate expression of that shared lawyer paranoia.
Right. She feels he isn't reading her emails, he isn't protecting her flank, and he is pushing the council into a legal trap by forcing them to acknowledge a flawed complaint.
And her accusation triggers an incredibly fiery, deeply personal response from Timmons. He writes back to the entire group. This is a long one, but it's important.
Okay. He writes, Counselor McKee, I did read all the emails. If you would read mine more carefully, you would see that I was answering the council president, who indicated she received the complaint.
He's matching her tone now.
He really is. How or why, I don't know, but she drafted a response, so I inferred she deemed it a proper receipt. The AG email that you reference was sent out at 12:28. Ann's email was sent out more than 2 hours later. Fair to assume she read both and received the complaint and chose to answer it? I certainly think so, and it is on that basis I acted.
He's defending his logical progression.
I am not sure why you chose to reach the conclusions you did, but they are completely unwarranted, and I am disappointed that you and certain of your colleagues continue to misapprehend fairly basic matters and choose instead to engage in bellicose exchanges. This must end.
The bellicose exchanges.
Yeah.
That is quite the phrase.
And he finishes with this. You are an elected official with an obligation to work in a professional manner with the executive branch of government. I ask you to do so. Next time we are engaged in a matter where there is confusion, please pick up the phone, call me, and let's clarify things. Then you will not feel that you are not represented. You are represented by me and this office, and if you simply picked up the phone to clarify, you would know that. James S. Timmons, City Solicitor.
Oh my goodness. He is begging her to stop litigating bureaucratic procedure over email and just pick up the phone.
So they waged this war over email intentionally. They CC the entire council on purpose. They are deliberately creating a documentary paper trail of their dissatisfaction. It is procedural warfare.
It absolutely is.
And the conflict doesn't even end there. The next day, April 10 at 11:52 a.m., McKee sends one more reply. She clearly wants the last word on the record.
What does she say?
She writes, Solicitor Timmons, respectfully, I see very clear differences between your representation of this council and the previous one. I will certainly try to work collaboratively with your office, but I expect more and better support than we have up to now received. Maggie.
Wow. So this exchange perfectly sets the stage. When you read these April emails, you completely understand why, a month later in May, Counselor McKee feels entirely justified in taking her own salary to hire a lawyer who only answers to her.
Right.
But this paranoia about who the solicitor represents and how the rules are applied It doesn't just stay inside the council chambers.
No, it bleeds outward.
Exactly. It bleeds outward into how the councilors interact with the public. The transparency iceberg in Quincy has a whole other section of jagged, dangerous ice beneath the surface, and that is the citizenry.
The people watching at home.
Right. The highly engaged residents who watch these broadcast meetings and use the open meeting law and public records laws to aggressively police the councilors themselves.
Which brings us back to a citizen named Leah DeGloria. Now, to understand the catalyst for this next massive conflict, we have to look at the mechanisms of transparency in Massachusetts, specifically the PRRF, or Public Records Request Form.
Yeah, so the public records law is the state-level equivalent of the Federal Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA.
Everyone knows FOIA.
Right? It is a powerful tool that allows any citizen to demand copies of records related to government business. Emails, memos, logs, and crucially text messages sent on personal devices if those texts discuss public policy.
And Leah DeGloria is highly proficient at using this tool. In March 2026, she submits a PRRF to the city of Quincy demanding, and I'll quote from her form here, all electronic records, photos, texts, iMessages, group logs, sent received by Councilors Riley, Mahoney, Yuan, Jacobs, and McKee during the March 2 meeting, including all recesses.
Okay, so she's casting a wide net. And the grounds for this incredibly broad request stem from a very specific visual moment. DeGloria alleges these records are evidence of his serial communication or shadow meeting.
What exactly is a serial communication?
A serial communication is a massive OML violation where a quorum of members don't talk all at once, but they relay information back and forth through a chain of texts or calls during a meeting. So they're effectively deliberating in secret right in front of the public.
Got it. And her suspicion is triggered by a photo.
A photo.
Yeah. During the March 2 meeting, Councilor Deborah Riley utilized her vantage point on the dais to take a photograph of a resident who was speaking at the public podium.
Oh, yeah, that looks bad.
DeGloria suspects that Riley then texted that photo to the other counselors during the meeting to maybe mock or discuss the resident, which would create a shadow deliberation.
Now, think back to the Attorney General's definition of deliberation we talked about earlier. Electronic mail and text messages between a quorum on public business absolutely count.
Right.
So if they were texting about a resident speaking at a meeting, that is highly problematic. But look at the mechanism of Councilor Riley's reaction to this public records request. She complies with the law and produces the record, but her written response is just explosive.
It is a stunning pivot. I am going to read Councilor Riley's email from March 25 in full. She is writing to Solicitor Timmons to hand over the requested photograph, but she uses the email to launch a blistering counterattack. She writes, March 25, 2026. Good day, Solicitor Timmons. In response to your letter dated March 16, 2026 attached, please find a copy of the picture that is the subject of a public records request initiated by Leah DeGloria.
Very standard opening.
Right. Then she says, there is no text messaging that occurred during the meeting with regards to the photo or any text messaging during the meeting period by me. The other counselors named in the complaint have no records as none were sent by me.
Okay, so she's categorically denying the serial communication.
Yes. She goes on, although I do not believe that a photo taken with my personal device during a public meeting after the open meeting law had been read aloud is in fact subject to the public records law. I am offering to produce the photo to put this matter to rest.
A little defensive, but fine. She's handing it over.
But then, here comes the pivot. As I mentioned to you on the phone, my sole purpose of taking the photo was to show it to my family, as I find Mrs. DeGloria's behavior both in person and online to be disturbing at the very least and downright frightening at times.
Whoa, she just escalated that immensely.
Disturbing and frightening, and she's not done. She says, she is openly promoting false information, creating a hostile and toxic environment, and making myself and others feel unsafe in our own community. The fact that she seems to have close ties to city officials, their spouses, and other prominent local representatives is equally disturbing, all from someone who doesn't live, work, pay taxes, or vote in this community. I do hope you do what is within your power to discourage such uncivil conduct in our community. Deborah A. Riley, Quincy City Councilor, Ward 6, and she CCs Ann Mahoney.
Let's really analyze the psychology of that email. She goes from a simple administrative denial of sending text messages, which, by the way, is all the law requires of her, to a deeply personal attack on the citizen utilizing the law.
Right, calling her disturbing and frightening, accusing her of creating a toxic environment.
And she explicitly highlights that DeGloria lives in the neighboring town of Weymouth, not Quincy.
Yeah, that part really stood out. All from someone who doesn't live, work, pay taxes, or vote in this community.
She's essentially demanding that the city's solicitor use his power to protect her from a citizen who is merely filing public records requests.
But this is where the profound hypocrisy angle comes into sharp focus. Because while Councilor Riley is deeply offended and claims to feel unsafe when a citizen uses the open meeting law and public records law to scrutinize her actions on the dais,
Right.
Councilor Riley herself is a prolific, aggressive user of those exact same laws to attack other municipal bodies.
The hypocrisy is staggering.
It really is. In another email to Solicitor Timmons, Riley actually boasts about her success in weaponizing OML complaints. You really need to hear her tone when she is on the offensive, demanding strict procedural compliance from others. Good afternoon, Solicitor. I must weigh in with my experience in filing open meeting complaints against 3 separate bodies in the city of Quincy, 2 of which are highlighted in Councilor McKee's email. OML 2025-9 filed against the Council on Aging Board of Directors. Neither the board chair, the director, the clerk, or your office ever responded to me. They did not convene a meeting as required and did not even respond to the AG's office when it was escalated after 30 days of no response.
She's tracking their response times down to the day.
The determination from the AG's office was that the board had, in fact, violated the open meeting law by holding the September 26, 2024 meeting without proper notice. The letter further noted the board's failure to properly respond to the complaint.
Okay, so she got them on a notice violation. What's the next one?
OML 2025-11 filed against the Cemetery Board of Managers. Neither the board chair, the commissioner, the clerk, or your office ever responded to me or the AG's office as required.
Notice how she keeps pointing out that Timmons' office isn't responding either.
Yeah, she's definitely taking a dig at him. The determination from the AG's office was that the board had, in fact, violated the open meeting law by holding the May 1st, 2025 meeting without proper notice. The letter further noted the board's failure to properly respond to the complaint. And she wraps it up with this. It is incredibly frustrating that when I, as an elected official, use the proper channels to report violations, I am met with total silence from your office. You have certainly never picked up the phone to call me to, and I have not received the swift responses that Ms. DeGloria and Ms. Walker have from your office. Deborah Riley, Quincy City Councilor.
The contrast here is just incredible. She is utilizing the exact same legal mechanisms OML complaints, escalating to the Attorney General, tracking the precise 30-day response times to hold the Council on Aging and the Cemetery Board accountable for the highly technical violation of improper notice.
Right, which are volunteer boards, by the way.
Exactly. She uses transparency laws as a blunt political weapon to enforce strict compliance on them.
But the second Leah DeGloria uses those exact same laws to ask for Riley's text messages regarding a photo she took during a meeting. It's suddenly framed as disturbing, frightening, and uncivil conduct.
It reveals a fundamental truth about how these laws are viewed by those in power. Transparency laws are a double-edged sword. You simply cannot write the playbook on how to weaponize the open meeting law, celebrate your victories from the Attorney General's office, and then act shocked and victimized when constituents use that exact same playbook against you.
You really can't. And Councilor Riley has a documented history of this kind of selective outrage. We actually have an article from the Patriot Ledger from July 23, 2025, that details another vivid example of her using process and emotional manipulation to attack political rivals.
Oh, this is the Nickerson Post incident.
Yes, it is.
This incident is a masterclass in leveraging administrative burden and community sentiment for political gain.
Yeah, let me give you the context here. In 2025, Riley is running as a candidate for the Ward 6 City Council seat. Due to construction at a local elementary school, the city's election department decides to move Precinct 5's polling location down the street to the American Legion's Nickerson Post.
Okay, pretty standard administrative stuff.
Yes.
Schools get under construction, you move the voting booths.
Right. And the city council reviews this change and approves it unanimously. But Riley immediately goes to the press to raise fierce objections. She deploys 2 main arguments.
Let's hear the first one.
First, she argues neutrality. Her opponent, the incumbent councilor Bill Harris, is a longtime member of the Nickerson Post and works there part-time as a bartender.
Oh.
Yeah. Riley claims he could receive an unfair benefit on Election Day simply from his affiliation with the building.
Which, politically speaking, is a fairly standard objection. Politicians argue over the optics of polling locations all the time. It's totally normal to say, hey, don't put the voting booths in my opponent's workplace.
Sure. That makes sense. But it is her second argument that escalates the situation dramatically.
Yes, she actively invokes a profound community trauma.
She really does. She references a tragic event from January 2019 where a Quincy native died from injuries suffered during a violent brawl outside that very same Nickerson post.
It was a horrific event for the community.
And Riley argues to the press that people touched by this tragedy still live in the community, and forcing them to visit the property to vote is insensitive and could make them uncomfortable.
Think about the mechanics of what she is doing here. She is taking a highly emotive, highly sensitive, tragic event and deploying it as a tactical argument regarding a simple municipal polling location change.
Right.
She is essentially suggesting that the administrative location of the ballot box might suppress voter turnout due to emotional trauma.
Especially when you consider how every other person involved reacted to the change.
Yeah, what did the others say?
Well, Bill Harris, the incumbent, had actually recused himself from the 7-0 vote entirely because he works there. He stated openly that his election committee donates to the post for scholarships and pays for campaign events there, but he trusted the city clerk to run a fair and neutral election.
So he played it by the book.
He did. And, more importantly, the other candidates challenging Harris for the seat raised zero objections. James Coffey, another candidate, called it the only plausible alternative in the neighborhood and noted that local residents overwhelmingly approved of the convenience.
And there was another candidate too, right?
Yeah, Christopher Chan. He hadn't even heard of the change and stated he had no issue with it.
Taking that a step further, what does this pattern tell us? We see a politician who is highly skilled at identifying pressure points.
Definitely.
Whether it is a technical failure to post a meeting notice by the cemetery board or a tragic event tied to a building to challenge a polling location, Councilor Riley knows exactly how to leverage procedural rules and public sentiment to her advantage.
So, to you, the listener, I want you to pause and really think about this in the context of your own community. Think about where you vote in your hometown.
Yeah, picture the building.
If a local politician tried to move your polling place using emotional manipulation about a past tragedy just to suppress their opponent's home turf turnout, how would you even know their true motivations? This is exactly why transparency laws exist.
It's the only way to see what's actually driving these decisions.
Right. But you also have to wonder how it feels to have the playbook you wrote used against you. When you are the one pulling the levers of accountability against others, it feels like righteous justice.
Of course. You feel like the good guy.
But when a citizen like Leah DeGloria pulls those exact same levers to demand Riley's text messages, the politician feels it is a hostile invasion of privacy.
It highlights the ultimate irony of local government. Everyone desperately wants strict transparency for their opponents, but absolute privacy for themselves.
Which brings us full circle. All of these threads, the deep distrust of the shared city solicitor, the relentless weaponization of the open meeting law by citizens and councilors alike, the breakdown of professional decorum over email, they all violently collide following Councilor Maggie McKee's admission on May 18th about her privately funded shadow lawyer.
Because you simply cannot drop a bombshell admission like that on public access television and expect a highly active citizenry to just ignore it.
Not a chance. On May 21st, 2026, just 3 days after the Ordinance Committee meeting, Leah DeGloria strikes.
She files a complaint.
She files a massive, formal, open meeting law complaint against the council. We have the official form here, and her framing is precise and just devastating.
She brilliantly uses Solicitor Timmons' own on-the-record warning from the meeting to build the foundation of her complaint.
Exactly. She writes, quote, "During the May 18, 2026 Ordinance Committee meeting, Councilor Maggie McKee admitted she hired a private attorney to evaluate city council authority because she disagreed with the city solicitor."
Setting the facts.
Right. As the solicitor noted on the record, a public official cannot use an undisclosed outside attorney to shape legislative strategy behind closed doors.
And then she outlines the exact mechanism of harm to the public trust.
Yes, her complaint continues. By hiding the attorney's identity and their legal findings, Councilor McKee insulated public deliberation, formed a legislative plan via an anonymous back channel, and hid major influences on her official actions from the public.
It is a perfectly articulated distillation of the danger we discussed at the top of the show. She understands that the invisible influence of an undisclosed lawyer turns the public meeting into a total sham.
A rehearsed performance, like you said earlier.
Exactly. But look closely at the actions DeGloria demands in response. She isn't just looking for a slap on the wrist or an apology. She's demanding systemic, painful correction.
Her demanded remedies are really severe. First, she wants full disclosure.
Meaning what exactly?
She demands the state order counselor McKee to disclose the outside attorney's identity, the exact scope of engagement, and all written legal findings, texts, or memos regarding the ordinance repeals.
So crack the whole thing open.
Yes. Second, she wants on-the-record rectification. She demands that all of these previously secret materials be read aloud into the record and entered into the official minutes at the next city council meeting.
Wow, forcing them to own it publicly.
And third, she demands mandatory training, requiring all city councilors to undergo formal open meeting law training.
This complaint synthesizes the core dilemma of modern municipal governance perfectly. The open meeting law requires a baseline level of functionality, trust, and good faith that, in this instance, simply evaporated.
Yeah, it's just gone.
When the foundational trust between the branches of government erodes completely, the transparency laws designed to protect the public end up becoming weapons they use to bludgeon each other.
The solicitor forces strict procedural compliance to try and control the chaotic council.
Right, and the council stubbornly refuses to disclose their private lawyers in outright defiance of the solicitor. And the citizens launch sophisticated complaints at everyone involved.
It just devolves into a procedural war of attrition rather than collaborative democratic governance.
But we must remember, the open meeting law does not exist to make the lives of councilors easier. It exists so the public knows who is influencing their laws. You cannot outsource legislative analysis to an anonymous entity, no matter how noble your intentions are.
Wow. We have taken quite a journey today through the municipal drama of Quincy, Massachusetts.
We really have.
We've gone from the on-the-record admission of a shadow lawyer to the gaslighting emails over a shared solicitor to the incredible hypocrisy of weaponizing transparency laws against volunteer boards while demanding privacy for yourself.
There's a lot to take in.
It is.
And as we close, I want to leave the listener with a final lingering thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We have spent this entire deep dive discussing the open meeting law, right? A concept that was largely drafted and conceptualized in an era of landlines and typewriters long before ubiquitous digital communication.
Yeah, back in the smoke-filled room days.
Exactly. But today, every single public official has a smartphone in their pocket. They have private email addresses, encrypted messaging apps like Signal or WhatsApp, and the ability to instantly hire personal consultants with a Venmo transfer.
Right.
Given the technological reality, does a true open meeting even exist anymore? Or has the public meeting simply become a highly rehearsed, staged performance, a piece of civic theater, while the actual decisions, the real deliberations, and the true influences happen in the digital shadows, far away from the microphone?
That is a terrifying thought, because if the meeting is just a performance, then our ability to diagnose the health of our democracy is completely broken. We might think we are looking at the true off-books ledger, but we are only seeing the fake spreadsheet they want us to see. Keep questioning what happens behind closed doors in your own community. Keep demanding to see the shadow ledgers. Until next time.